Puerto Rico expected to receive $43.5 billion in federal assistance for the pandemic by 2023, according to the Fiscal Oversight and Management Board. It's also expected to receive the remaining 70% of at least $63 billion in disaster relief from Congress towards recovery from Hurricane Maria. Could all of that make Puerto Rico an island of opportunity for potential investors and lots of other factors too, of course? Let's bring in Gentrust principal Elena Hernandez, originally from Puerto Rico. She joins us from the island where she leads Gentrust's office there. Very good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us, Elena. And really enjoyed reading some of the notes you shared ahead of this. And one of the takeaways being that you think Puerto Rico increasingly is a great source of capital to raise, to invest from a growing economy there, but also a place to put that money to work as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we see so much opportunity in the island of Puerto Rico. As you mentioned, there are a lot of federal funds that are still yet to arrive, but have been assigned to the island. There's a lot of pent-up needed work on infrastructure. We've seen a huge acceleration in the real estate market, both personal as well as industrial in the island. The island is one of the leaders, again, in the pharmaceutical industry. We're like the 5th largest manufacturing hub right now for pharma. In fact, 90% of all pacemakers in the world are produced out of Puerto Rico, and 5 out of the 10 biggest sold drugs. So we've seen an expansion in several industries, such as, like I mentioned, pharma, also biotech, software, et cetera. Obviously, the continuation of the tax incentives have helped, but also we've seen as a silver lining to the horrible tragedy of Hurricane Maria, and now with COVID, that with all this federal assistance coming to the island, there could really be a lot of opportunity the years forward if it's spent correctly.
In terms of what particularly the investment opportunities are in Puerto Rico and where you're putting money to work, what type of assets are we talking about? Is it public market assets or private market, and only for someone on the ground with access like you?
So I'll tell you both of our thoughts in both aspects. So when it comes to public markets, obviously we all know the story of the Puerto Rico bonds. Now, that being said, we have a restructuring, that we're hopeful that there'll be an agreement. And if that happens and it gets confirmed, we actually do think that there will be a pretty good amount of demand of investors that couldn't deal with defaulted bonds before coming into the market, because we have seen demand in the market for muni high yield, right, which Puerto Rico will be part of. So that could be an interesting vertical. In the private market, there's a lot in regards to businesses. We've seen the same sort of trend that you see in the U.S., in the sense of the creation and expansion of Hispanic-owned businesses in the island, especially after the debacle we saw with Hurricane Maria. So there's a lot of opportunity in different industries in investing on these businesses going forward.
I remember when John Paulson first made a lot of news years ago, Elena,
yes,
investing in Puerto Rico, and a number of hedge funds actually really poured into Puerto Rico, and I think they lost a ton of money, whether it was the bond issues, the hurricanes. So has that capital dried up, or do you still see it as a place where hedge funds and big institutional investors have gone?
I mean, we have seen a huge migration, right, from the United States to the Puerto Rico for many reasons, right? You have a stable U.S. dollar-based economy. You have a very similar laws in most of our verticals to the U.S., if not, falling under U.S. laws. And then you have the tax incentives that the government have created to, engage more companies and individuals. So no, I still think there are definitely opportunities. Obviously, as you mentioned, there has been a tricky history, but the reality is, Puerto Rico is coming back stronger, resilient. When I meet with, entrepreneurs and businesses that either have sold their business or merged their business, or being funded by, private equity in the U.S. coming into Puerto Rico, you see kind of the strength, and you see kind of the elevation that these businesses are gathering from all these assets interested. Also in interesting opportunities of yield and of growth. And, remember, Puerto Rico is kind of a window to businesses in Latin America, too. So now there's, accelerators that are in the island helping companies not only from Puerto Rico but throughout Latin America, trying to expand in the U.S., et cetera. So the fan or window of opportunity has expanded so much just because we have all these kind of new procedures and opportunities in place.